Every business is different. Every business owner's day-to-day is certainly different. Most good business owners, they're passionate about what they do, and they're willing to do whatever it is to help make sure their business is successful. Yeah, I mean, I changed shirts in the parking lot before I got here because I was wearing a sweaty one before this.
Well, it's good to be back here on the Next Generation podcast. I've got Mr. Caleb Shoup across from me.
It's excited to be here.
Yeah,
Thanks a lot.
We are without my co-host, Luke Hannon, today. You know Luke. It's probably a good thing we're without Luke today.
Don't say that.
Okay, you're right. He definitely is the color commentator here.
That's
but
right.
kind of tell us a little bit about yourself. Kind of give us an A to Z, a history lesson on Mr. Shoup over here.
So I grew up in Northeast Wisconsin, near Green Bay. So big time, Packer fan, cheesehead as they say, right? Went to college at Purdue University, studied engineering, moved to Louisville, Kentucky after college, and got my first job there in manufacturing. Worked in operations and in an engineering capacity for a couple different companies in Louisville. Eventually worked my way into sales and marketing, and then actually moved. So I was in Louisville for probably about 6 years, and then met my wife in India, actually is where we met, but it's because we were both pursuing our MBAs at the University of Louisville, just different cohorts. It's a different story, but long story short,
India? I don't think I knew this.
New Delhi.
Yeah.
There
you go. That's where everyone
we probably
meets.
Justin
New
probably
Delhi.
remembers the story. It's fine. No,
yeah, Justin. I know I've heard it. That's a sad thing. But
no, it's all good. So it's a great little story, but long story short, so essentially, met my wife, I guess, in Louisville. That's where we were, where we got married. We moved to Omaha, and at that point, I took a job with Johnson Controls. I was working in fire protection, and this was more of like I'd say more of an engineering sales role. At that point, I was looking to get into sales. I was working with the product management team as my most recent job in Louisville, but they didn't really have a position available for me in sales. And I wanted to get sales experience because at that time, everybody I was looking up to in the company, position I wanted to be in someday, had sales and marketing experience, even if they started in operations. So great. I'm going to, increase the breadth of my knowledge a little bit and experiences there with the hopes of, being in a more strategic position down the road. And long story short, I guess on that piece of my life was that after doing that for about a year and a half or however long it was, I kind of just decided that what I was really looking for, I didn't think I was going to find in a position at a large corporation. And I think at some point, I always knew like owning a business was like something in the back of my mind, like something fun. Had never really seriously considered it. And throughout that year, that's when I really started to realize that I felt like I was really, I was always going to regret if I never tried it. But B, I felt like that was the best way for me to maximize my potential. Sales was fun in the fact that there's less of a ceiling, so to speak, but there's still so many hours in a day, right? Whereas owning a business really gave me the opportunity to feel like there was really truly no ceiling, right? You can do whatever you want with it. So that's kind of what led me to owning a business. I guess a big part of that too is that my wife Allie's father owned a business, and in Louisville they've since sold it and moved to be by us here in Arkansas. But I didn't grow up, nobody in my family was a business owner. So that was a way for me to, I guess, sort of open my eyes to that world as well. And I don't know, just see it in a different perspective and understand it more and actually kind of see what that world looked like. So then fast forward, we had an opportunity to move to Arkansas, Northwest Arkansas for my wife's job, and decided that was also a good place that would give me the opportunity to start a business. We didn't have kids yet, so was something that was helpful in our situation anyways. Yeah. So it's been a good fit for us. It's kind of funny when we thought about, so when we got married, and my wife knew that she was likely going to be asked to relocate for her next position in her job. At the time, I was already, like I mentioned, I was looking for a sales job. So I knew that, hey, there's not really anything for me here anyways. I'm probably going to leave companies where I'm at. If I'm going to do that, I can relocate with you. Like, this works out great. But we had both decided, as we're both pursuing careers, but now in a marriage, right? Do we take turns? We make one move for you, one move for me. We didn't know exactly what that was going to look like, but we're trying to find some, realistic and wise way to do that. So we decided that first move, we would move with my wife. And when we, I remember we were on it might have been like a plane going to our honeymoon. It's probably not right. That's probably romanticizing the story a little bit, but
we'll ask her. Yeah, we'll follow up after this.
But at some point, I do remember, and I think it was on a plane, us making sort of our priority list. It was probably at the kitchen table on a Tuesday night is what it was. But we were making a list of where we'd like to go and where we didn't want to go. And, top 3, right? Phoenix, Arizona, that sounds good. Maybe somewhere in Florida would be fun. Denver, I like to ski, kind of picking like dream list, but all realistic possibilities for her job. She works for the Hershey company. Any major city, there was a good chance something would open up. Okay, where are places we're not going to go? And I'm kind of like, look, I grew up in Wisconsin. I didn't have to move back after college. I like trying new things. I wanted to go out and see the world, so to speak, while I had the chance before, realistically we had kids or needed to be closer to family or whatever. So I'm like, hey, if you want to go to, California or, maybe a different country, but just somewhere really just, I like exploring different regions of the United States, right? Maybe the Southwest or something like that. So I was like, let's do anything. We're like, okay, is there any, but maybe like middle of nowhere where we're super far from family, like Seattle, right? I'm like, I've been to Seattle a few times, cool place. I don't know if I'd really want to live there because it's a plane ride away from everywhere. So like, okay, maybe throw that on the list of don't want to go. Bentonville, Arkansas. She's like, how do you feel about that? I'm like, neither one of us knew where it was on a map, right? But she's like, but we have an office there. There's a chance, they might ask me to move, whatever. We're like, all right, well, let's put that one at the bottom then. If we had to decline one, that's probably going to be it, right?
Yeah.
And we didn't get, it wasn't offered. So what is a big deal? We ended up moving to Omaha. That was the Omaha job. I had some first cousins in Omaha. It's a cool little town. You never really go there unless you have a reason to go there. You know what I mean? But it was a fun city. We made some great friends there. A lot of good memories. Loved it. Had a nice apartment downtown, Old Market area. Just had a lot. It was a really fun place to live as newlyweds for, just like I said, maybe a year and a half or something. After that is when we got the call for Bentonville. And I think at that point, I guess we had maybe we had warmed up to a little bit because whether it was we knew more people down here or whatever. And we were, I think we maybe went on a little bit of our adventure by ourselves. And at this point, we're like, okay, well, maybe this next move is somewhere where we could see ourselves staying a little bit. I don't think we necessarily intended to put down roots quickly. But the job potential, or I guess the job offer was a really good opportunity, right? So we don't, at some point, you have to prioritize that. Another thing was just, quality of life, cost of living, all that stuff. We had heard really good things about it. I guess, and that was really the main thing, right? So people we knew that had either moved here or we just knew through work, I guess really through my wife's work that she knew that lived here. Of course, everybody has good things to say about it, right? So they're like, trust me, I get it. It sounds weird if you're not, from the area, you're not familiar with it. But it's super nice. You're going to love it. Outdoor recreation. There's a lot going on. It's really fun. Well, okay. Yeah. This sounds like a nice place. And then this is my last little point of the story. We'll put a bow on it here, but, we were sitting at our apartment in Omaha and again, neither one of us, we moved down here sight unseen, right? We booked we found an apartment just to get in. We're like, we'll look for houses or whatever long-term, kind of let's just get down there and make some friends and get the lay of the land and whatever. So we're doing some research online and Allie she goes, oh, Caleb. She's like, look Bentonville actually looks like kind of a cool city. And she flips her computer around. And I was like, oh, yeah, that's like more kind of impressive skyline than I actually thought, was envisioning in my head. I don't know what I was thinking. And then I lean a little closer. I go, Allie, that's Little Rock. You're showing me pictures of Little Rock.
Totally off.
Google just you know how it is. It probably, spilled some images in there when she typed in Bentonville and somehow an image of Little Rock popped up. But yeah, I love to tell that story because we both had no clue.
I would have loved for you guys to get here and be like, oh, that's not what we thought.
Yeah, but you know what? But I will say, so then in hindsight, I'm very happy though that we are here and not Little Rock, right? We know we love it here, and I mean, and I say all that, but like, I grew up in a small farm town. I mean, one stoplight, not even a Walmart. So like, it like by no means were we like we're city people. Like, I mean, I grew up in the country, So Bentonville is pretty city for me. You know what I mean? The big city for me was Green Bay, and that's like what 200,000 people.
Yeah.
So this is not it's a great mix of both really, and we love it.
Why don't you give us a little 30-second elevator pitch for Conserva Irrigation for let us know exactly what you do and what Conserva does, and give us a little elevator pitch for it.
All right, sure. So Conserva Irrigation is focused on efficient irrigation, and that's residential, commercial, new installation, and service and maintenance. So whether you've had a system that's in the ground for 20 years or you are looking at getting an irrigation system for the first time, we'll help out with both of those. Our irrigation systems, like I said, we're focusing on conserving water. So good for the environment. An irrigation system uses probably about 60 to 65% of the water on your water bill. So it's a lot. So every drop that's going on the sidewalk or down the driveway is wasted. And so we're trying to eliminate that. That comes from using better materials, better installation practices, and also the smart technology that's available now. There's pretty good technology out there that is can adapt for the weather and control it from your phone and senses the soil moisture and that sort of thing. So anywhere where we can get every drop we want to be useful, right? Just like you don't waste water when you're brushing your teeth. A lot of water goes through the irrigation system. Let's make sure it's keeping the lawn healthy and the plants healthy. So that's what we're focused on.
Man, that was good.
I don't know if it was or not, but
I'm
hopefully.
Sold. Tell us about what it's like to be a small business owner.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think, I gave kind of a long-winded version maybe of what led me to pursue owning a business. But the slightly longer version of that is, so we had made the decision that I had made the decision along with Allie that, business ownership was something that we really wanted to seriously pursue. And there's all sort of different ways you can do that. And at the time I was focused on, I had an engineering and operations background, pretty, industrial engineering, so pretty focused on efficiency improvement, that sort of thing. So that led me to think like, hey, let's find an existing business. Maybe I can use some of my experiences and expertise to find some efficiency gains, that can kind of pair well if it's sort of a maybe manufacturing type or something that but find something that we think, just needs a little TLC and that you can improve and grow. At the time we were looking, my cousin reached out to me that was a franchise broker. And so anybody listening, maybe that's ever considered a franchise as a good opportunity, or is kind of interested or curious about it, I would recommend working with a broker. They're not hard to find. I can certainly make a recommendation on that. But that was a really useful process. Now, when they reached out to me, so my cousin Krista had said, "Hey, Caleb, I'm starting this new business. We're brokering franchises. Have you ever considered a franchise? I heard you're maybe interested in starting a business." And I pretty much flat out told her no. And because the first thing you think of is like an empire brand, as they call it, right? So I'm like, do I want to, open a Subway or like a Chick-fil-A? And I was like, no, that's not quite what I was, envisioning. She said, well, I tell you what, I'm just starting this. Could you sit down with my partner and I, and we'll just kind of use you as a guinea pig for our presentation, our sales process. We'll do sort of an assessment and help it. Like if you were interested, we'd give you some brands that kind of fit your personality. But I was like, yeah, of course, if I can help you out, sure. And it'll be kind of fun for me just to see what's out there, whatever. About 2 hours later into the meeting, I was like, okay, I'm kind of sold, right? And the reasoning was, and I guess ultimately what helped me decide to choose a franchise was when you look at the risk associated with starting a business, pure startup, right? Imagine something, you have a concept, you run with it, starting from ground zero. I think the failure rate is around 80%. It's pretty exciting. It's fun. It's completely yours. But it's really pure. It's really hard to succeed. Buying an existing business, I don't know what the numbers are. If it's 50%, maybe it's higher. And then there's, an existing business, right? And then buying a franchise is even less risk because part of what you're paying for is a proven model, a playbook. A lot of the branding, a lot of the tools are designed for you. It can be kind of plug and play depending what type of business you're looking at. So it still gives you the opportunity to own your own business. In this instance, we are 100% locally owned and operated. We don't have anybody really breathing down our necks or telling us what to do. Now, obviously, we use franchise branding, and so we can't change the colors of our logo or something like that.
Yeah.
But it really gave us the opportunity to totally start a business on our own. And so that's the other thing. You can buy an existing franchise too. Now I started this. We didn't have anybody operating in Arkansas. I said, great. So we started it from the ground up. And I mean, just like as if I were to start Caleb's Irrigation, you find a space to rent and you go make some relationships with some vendors and you go find customers and all those things just like you would either way. So for me, it was a really nice blend of both worlds. It gave me the, like I said, basically the opportunity, the experience of starting my own business. But the franchise also provides a lot of resources that are really helpful and really good for our customers too, right? So there are things, I actually had irrigation experience because my first job ever was operating the irrigation system at a municipal golf course where I grew up.
Yeah.
So it kind of came full circle, which is funny. But needless to say, I mean, there's opportunities and problems out there that I wouldn't have had experience in. So being a part of a franchise gave me an instant team that I could lean on and say, hey, we have a customer dealing with this issue, right? And so, and that's good for our customers because now it's not, my company's knowledge doesn't begin and end with Caleb or my technicians, right? We have a nationwide network that I can lean on. So we're able to provide some really, good expertise and good services that way. And of course you have support from a brand team perspective on whether it is marketing or some IT issues or maybe just like, sourcing some equipment or vehicles or something like that. A franchise network can be really useful in that. So it's been a great experience. I'm not sure you mentioned, so the brand is called Conserva Irrigation. They were fairly young when I started. So we bought in, and I think we were somewhere around the 30th unit in the country. So it's not like it's a brand people would have heard of, right? And I think when you're buying a franchise, you're looking at, in my mind, you're purchasing one of two things. You're purchasing the brand, right? You open a McDonald's. People don't go to McDonald's because it's the best hamburger. They go to McDonald's because they know what they're getting, right?
Yeah.
Or you're purchasing the operations manual, okay? The systems, right? The processes that they put in place. So young brand, that's what we were getting, okay? By the way, those bigger established brands where people are going because they recognize the brand usually are quite a bit more of an investment to start,
sure, yeah.
right? So a younger franchise can give you the opportunity to own a business and get in a little cheaper, but you still get that sort of head start, if you want to think of it that way, because you're essentially, I'm paying for the work that's already been done, right? And again, that was a really good fit. Starting a home services business was a good fit for me personally. Besides the fact that the technical aspect of the work, my background, our market here, there's a lot of things that kind of led me that direction. But in terms of starting a business, a home services business doesn't necessarily require a huge build out. I didn't need to build a restaurant. I wasn't building a storefront, a gym or whatever. Right? We're operating out of vehicles, essentially. I need a place to hold inventory, but lower capital investment than some other businesses out there, and the ability to hopefully, become profitable more quickly. Mm-hmm. That was certainly the case. Well, I should say quicker to cash flow, which, sure. When you're starting a business can be important. So, so it's been a good fit.
Yeah. And so, you've obviously gone through a lot of different things because you've been here in Northwest Arkansas running Conserva for how long now?
So 3 years already.
3 years? Okay.
Yeah.
So there's been a lot going on in 3 years and, you're still relatively young for the area, right? And so, and newish to the area. So tell us a little bit about, both the challenges of owning a small business as well as, I think you kind of filled us in on some of the opportunities, but if you just kind of wanted to nail some of those down, but some of the things that go into what a day-to-day looks like for you.
Yeah. Quite frankly, every job has challenges, right? I think, so we can kind of answer this in two different ways. So challenges in terms of like business ownership and then challenges in terms of maybe, my specific industry or whatever. Sure. I think, when it comes to, or maybe we start even broader and go with entrepreneurship. Right?
There we go.
Let's
nail it down.
Let's start in the clouds here. everybody, there's kind of a joke in entrepreneurial circles that like you trade in your 9 to 5 to work 24/7.
Yeah.
And in my case, that's 100% how it is. Now it's really fulfilling, and you have a vision for what you can build, and it's exciting. And so for that reason, it is really satisfying. But it is a lot of work. And, you talk about like blood, sweat, and tears, and it is literal in the sense, so challenging. Because when you are, in my experience, I won't even say, in my experience working a profession, when I was an engineer or maybe operations supervisor or something for a large company, you get to really utilize a specific skill set, right? And I'm not saying there's not stresses with those jobs or they can't be a lot of work. I think if, a lot of times they are. But it's just totally different going to own a business where I no longer get to hyper focus on one thing. And I might still gravitate towards certain things because I'm better at it or like it better, but you got to wear every hat, right? So there's HR work, there's legal work, there's business development work, there's sales work, there's, hiring, I guess that falls into HR, and then there's the business operations, and you got to figure it all out, The other challenge with business ownership is that it's not like there's not a one-to-one. You have to be wise with your time. So I think you can kind of fall into a trap where it's like, well, if I just grind it out, just work harder. Harder you work, the more successful your business is going to be. In a broad sense, but if you're not focusing on those right things, you can work yourself to death, and it's like, gosh, man, we didn't go anywhere these last 2 weeks. It's like, well, yeah, you're burying yourself in something that wasn't used to. So you got to be willing to, pivot quickly and learn how to manage your time really useful. But you learn how to manage your time. I don't mean like not getting distracted and wasting time. I mean learning where the most bang for your buck is and where do I need to focus and what does my team need from me that's going to be most useful to help them succeed. So those are all good things. Those are good challenges to have. But that's the challenge. It's going from whatever you're used to focusing on what you're good at and realizing like, okay, I either need to hire some help or find resources to do the things I'm not good at or figure out how to get good better. At it. Yeah. So it's wearing a lot of hats. It's a lot to balance. It's a lot of work. And then when it comes to, so like what's been maybe in my industry, some challenges or something, I don't think, this is a kind of, I don't know, maybe like a cop-out answer, but I think to be successful in business ownership, and there's some great, more successful people than me that would have, that maybe I'm stealing this idea from. So, but there's a concept of how your mindset will affect the success of your business. And so I guess all that to say is there's challenges, but you try not to get consumed by them. And you look at challenges in a positive light because when you're in negative energy and when you're down, that's going to affect the people around you. And there's nobody above you. So when something doesn't work out, it's either your job to figure it out or to fail. Yeah. I mean, like those are the options, right? Other jobs I've had, it's like, oh, I don't know, boss. Like, what should we do here? Or like, this isn't my problem at the end of the day. Well, now it is your problem. It's going to end with you. So, so you can choose to, get frustrated or whatever, or just have a mindset. It's like, hey, things are great. We're going to figure it out. It's going to work out. Yeah. And when you go in with that mindset, it does. So I guess that was kind of my way of saying, I think there's a lot of challenges, but I try not to go around looking for challenges. We just roll with it. So, because I'm not really answering the question. So I'm trying to think here. If I got a day to day, what are challenges? Customers can be a challenge, right? Yeah. I mean, we love our customers, and that's the really rewarding part. There's nothing better than helping out your customers, right? But we've all, no matter what the industry is, whether you're a server at a restaurant or the CEO of Walmart, you have customers that are a challenge, right? Yeah. And so without a doubt, it's kind of like your family, you can, they can provide you a lot of great, joy and satisfaction, and they can also be a big point of stress and but it's because that's the whole reason we exist, is to serve them and make them happy. And when there's friction, it can be kind of emotionally draining because you want to resolve that. So, and of course there's like technical challenges, so to speak, but that's just, that's part of the job, right? Hey, this logistics aren't working out. We need to work through this or whatever. So a day-to-day, to answer that part of the question, what does a day-to-day look like?
Well, you've alluded to this, and maybe I can help clarify a little bit for you, but your day-to-day, and I know this just because I know you and I've seen you, but you may show up to something with muddy boots and dirty hands, and then you may have to show up for a white tablecloth event and the next day. So I know and you've alluded to wearing many hats and what that all entails, but just you said 24/7, and so obviously I think that represents it. But you're also, you're doing a lot of different things, and you're trying to manage a group, manage a team, as well as if something's broken, you don't really have. It's not your problem. It's your problem. So you've got to go out there and you've got to take ownership and you've got to help fix it. I guess if that help clarifies it a little bit for you.
Yeah, no, 100%. I think every business is different. Every business owner's day-to-day is certainly different, right? I think most good business owners, they're passionate about what they do and they're willing to do, whatever it is to help serve their customer ultimately, but to make sure their business is successful, make sure their team is going to be successful, and whether that's getting down in the trenches on the front lines and helping out your employees, or doing a lot more high level stuff. But I changed shirts in the parking lot before I got here because I was wearing a sweaty one before this. So my day to day is still it's a little different than when I started. So when I started the business, I was a technician.
Yeah,
that's not unusual for probably somebody in my position, right? That's starting a franchise that does home service work like this, and you start with a small team and you try to keep overhead low, and everybody comes in with a different financial situation, right? There's a lot of business owners out there who can put a big management team in place, and they kind of have the luxury of maybe being at a higher level from day one. That wasn't my experience. So I was out there in one of my Conserva trucks and fulfilling work and doing service calls. I had a gal who helped me out in the office by at least fielding the phone calls and scheduling those so that I wasn't trying to do that in between calls. This market here, because it's growing so fast, it's been really great from day one. When we started, there were people out there that were either new to the area or had been here a long time and just looking for a good, reliable professional contractor that could help them with their irrigation needs. There was a lot of need for that. So that's been great for us. But that means we're really busy.
Yeah.
And so trying to be as strategic as I can. And okay, so how can we help best serve as many people and get there as quickly as we can? That's it.
Yeah.
That's really, I guess, the challenge for my business is doing that. So for me, what that looked like was doing a lot of that work myself. Now I have a larger team in place. So I can be more of a support role. I'm still out in the field a lot, but I'm not necessarily handling complete service calls, if you think of it, by myself, or new installations. I'm not out there as the foreman myself anymore, right? We have people in place that can do that. And then as things, get more technical, or if we have something that somebody's kind of stuck on or needs some help, or maybe we just need some extra hands somewhere, now I can kind of have the ability to do that. So my day-to-day has changed, right? But it's still, that's like the question. It's like, hey, I actually had an 8th grader from Bentonville shadowing me a couple weeks ago.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, which was a lot of fun, and of course, one of their things is like, let's see what a day-to-day is like, right? I'm like, well, this is going to be fun because my day-to-day is different every single day, right?
Yeah.
Like the phone rings and I don't know if it's going to be, it could be anybody, right?
Exactly.
So we're going to see what the day brings. It keeps it pretty exciting. The flexibility and the variety is really fun. But to your point, we might be at a sales call 1 second and then going and helping fix some irrigation the next hour, and then maybe meeting with my banker in the afternoon to talk about some funding that we need.
Yeah.
And then working on some business development after that, or going home and getting through some paperwork that I've been putting off for a week, or talking to my insurance agent about something I need to get fixed. So it's I think in like, a dream world, it's like, well, I check in on the team and make sure everything's working right. And then I go get coffee, and then I take my kids golfing or whatever. You know, it's like I mean, that's hey, maybe someday we'll get there. Exactly. That sounds great, but but no, but you know what? Like I think part of the reason we're able to, I don't know that I would ever, the flexibility of owning a business is nice, but when you're growing a business, it's different, right? Like you work a lot. You have flexibility in that, like, yes, I don't have a boss, so if I need a day off, I take a day off. But my business sometimes can't afford me to be gone that long, right? So we're still figuring that out. But what I was getting at is, but I like the fact that I'm still very much in tune with my business, and then I work on it every day. I think it helps me in hiring because I'm knowledgeable about our processes and I'm knowledgeable about the work we do, so it helps me interview better. It also helps me support my team better when they need help on something. I can be there for them, and I think it also at some level comes through to customers too when they can tell you're passionate about what you're doing and that you're actually involved with your business. They get a sense of that, and I hope that plays through to our customers and through our team. So. Yeah.
Well, it sounds like a testament to somebody who's really enjoying what they're doing. And one of the cool things is...
You caught me at a good time.
Well, yeah. I think it's about to rain, so you may be done for the rest of the day. But
it is getting a little blustery out there. No, but it's... I mean, that's the other thing. Hour by hour is different. Like there are those car rides where it's like sometimes you need a friend to call and talk you off a ledge. So it's not all sunshine and roses.
I totally get it. Yeah. Well, we've had the fortunate ability to have some really neat guests on this show. A lot of them have talked about small businesses and community banks being kind of the backbone of our society. And a lot of times they don't get the credit necessarily they deserve or need. I know this may have been before, actually I know it was before you took over Conserva, but PPP was like a really cool blend of those, right? Because they were kind of able to get together and to really achieve something neat, for the economy as a whole. But that's one of the things that we've talked about a lot on this podcast was just small businesses and community banks and how can those pair well together? How can they help service each other to continue to grow? Because it's a very symbiotic relationship, right? And so I know we've had the fortunate ability to work together just a little bit, but I don't know. I'm just I'd be curious what your thoughts are on something like that. Knowing that having been in that world and kind of seeing that firsthand.
I think the just a local relationship is really valuable, right? And when it comes to banking, it's kind of like any business relationship. All right, here's a good example. So I was in the car and I was on the phone with an issue that I had with a account that manages some of our credit cards, large bank. And I was on the phone for an hour and a half. And I think I got maybe 50% of my issues resolved. Definitely not all of it. I don't know the person I was talking to.
Yeah.
I don't even know where they were located, right? When I have an issue or a question or need some support for my relationship at Generations Bank, I call somebody. I know exactly who I'm talking to. I can picture their face. They know me, right? And I'm not even talking about like my relationship banker. Yeah. I'm talking about maybe just, I'm missing a W-9 or something, right?
Yeah.
You know everybody you're working with. And I'm not, maybe in certain instances that's more important than not. But there's a lot of value to that. And I think sometimes in our world today, we sort of overlook that because, there's a cheaper way or a better way to do something. But for a small business especially, those personal relationships go really far. Just the level of support in my opinion, the level of support you get is going to be better. Okay. And then also the relationship and the networking that comes from that is also really useful too, because at some point as a small business, because you're wearing all those hats, like it's not just customers you're looking for, right? You're also looking for employees or other useful business relationships. And having somebody local in our community that I'm dealing with, I could call you, Max, after this meeting or tomorrow and say, hey, I really need some more help in the office. Do you happen to know anybody that might be looking for a job? And you might or you might not. But that's not a conversation I can have with, I can't call a 1-800 number for a large bank and ask that question, you know? Yeah. So whether it's customer relationships or shoot, I mean, like anything, right? I need to get my truck fixed. Like, who's a good mechanic that you trust? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And the more of those business relationships locally that you have, just the better it is for your small business, because you need everything, right? Legal help, accounting help, whatever it is. So the more local people you're involved with, the bigger your network grows. Yeah. And you truly can't put a price on it. I mean, seriously. Yeah.
No, I agree. Well, Caleb, I really appreciate you for hopping on. Excited to talk to you about it. And like we said, small business backbone for sure of our economy, and it's excited to talk to somebody who's doing it well locally here. So, and we're glad that you ended up in this blustery skyline of Northwest Arkansas here, and that you guys took a chance to come on down.
No, we're happy to be here, thankful to be here. Blessed and honored and all those things to be a part of the community, and thankful for our people like you, friends, and then also professionally. So thank you for having me on. It's been fun.